to fill that spot. So if we have 2 weeks in advance, we're able to get bands on here to have a conversation. But as Spider and I kind of carried the show on last week, we're like, you know what? Let's see how it rolls. So I think we can carry the show without bands every now and then. But we like talking to bands and get to know these bands. So
I'm always going to interview musicians. And things,
absolutely.
You can always kind of talk shop and into the nitty gritty. But, there's something to be said about having to fill in half of a show with nonsense. And if you missed it last week, I filled the show with nonsense.
You always do, though. You always do.
Well, that's my niche. It's the nonsense niche. And not to get back into that same topic, because I could keep on going for hours about it, but last week we started talking about musicals, and it's not to be missed. It's lots of laughs, if I do say so myself. And I do.
Speaking of musical, the brand new a Rocky Horror Picture Show comes out, premieres on August, wrong month, in October. Is it October 20th? Yeah, October 20th on your local channels. So if anyone's a Rocky fan, oh my God, we're trying to figure out how we're going to watch it because I don't have cable. A friend of mine doesn't have cable. We're trying to do we need to go and crash someone's home to watch the premiere of the brand new Rocky Horror Picture Show? I think we do. So we're trying to figure out how we're going to see this, and that's the same thing that Spider was talking about last week.
Yes.
So, yeah. And I guess the chat room is having their own conversation because I have no idea what's going on in there. Anyway, carry on. All right, so before we switch gears and talk about Corey Feldman's music debut on today's show, few days back. I think it was Monday, right? Was it Monday or Tuesday?
I don't remember the exact day. Like I said, I'd heard about it and then I lost track of it because I just didn't. So much stuff was going on, but right. That's a day in my life like usual. So
right. So before we get into that, do you want to do your this day in music? Yeah,
let me pull that up because as usual, I was only half prepared.
Theme of the show.
Yeah, I tend to be only half prepared most of the time because, why would I want to be whole prepared? It's inflexible to be whole prepared. Mm-hmm. You want to be able to kind of just adapt. And sometimes I do that. Sometimes. So, this day in music. If you don't know about this segment, this is one of those things where what I do is I go back in time and I look and see what has happened in the past on this exact date in previous years. So, let's take a look. Mm-hmm. In 1958, after receiving special permission from the U.S. Army, Elvis Presley gave one last press conference at the Military Ocean Terminal in Brooklyn, and then he joined the rest of the 3rd Armored Division on the USS General Randall for a voyage to Bremerhaven, Germany.
Nice.
So, as anybody who doesn't know that, of course, he was definitely in the Army. And some of our musicians and some of our people get out of that kind of thing, and whether it's morally right or wrong, who knows? We're not going to get into that too much. But he didn't. He served his time and came back out. Mm-hmm. So, going down the list. Let's see. There's not a whole lot going up here today by the look of it. But here's a good one. In 1972, David Bowie kicked off the North American leg of his Ziggy Stardust World Tour at the Music Hall in Cleveland, Ohio.
Ooh, your area.
Mm-hmm. I had a ticket once to see David Bowie, but I didn't have a functioning vehicle at the time. But I thought, you know what, somebody will want to go with me, so I bought a ticket, and I was unfortunately very wrong, and no one wanted to go.
I would have gone with you. I don't know how I would have got you. I would have.
This was quite a long time ago. I was still living right on the border of PA and Ohio at the time, so quite a ways away from my own musical career of a sort. So I was still kind of just doing my thing. But I'm kind of upset now because that was a lost opportunity on a lot of levels. So, there's that.
Cool. Right on.
A few years later, in 1979, another favorite of mine, Gary Newman, had his second and final UK #1 single with Cars. Also on this day, Gary Newman went to #1 on the UK album chart with The Pleasure Principle, which I believe is the album that song was on. He recently just finished a tour where he was playing that album and 2 other earlier albums from the earliest of his career, start to finish. It was like a whole retro, just totally retro tour. And it's not going to happen again for quite some time, if ever, according to him. Not because he doesn't like the material, because he's played that stuff so much that he's pretty much finished. And this was his last hurrah for old music before moving on to all of his new stuff. So if you were in the UK and you got a chance to see one of those shows, you got to see history.
Cool.
Yes.
Awesome.
Now, what else do we have here? Not a whole lot of stuff happened today. But here's one that goes along with the topic, actually.
Oh?
In 1992, on this day, Def Leppard were forced to cancel 2 U.S. shows after their sound equipment truck was found abandoned after one of the band's drivers had attempted to rob a store.
What?
The driver was later charged of possessing drugs and criminal damage.
Oh, good Lord Almighty. Rock and roll, people, rock and roll.
If you're helping a band and you're one of their roadies or one of their crew or one of their drivers or whatnot, you might want to stay on your best behavior, because you might never get a chance to be working with a band like that ever again if you get into that kind of trouble.
Right.
If a band has to cancel a show for something like that, I'd be mad.
I hope he got fired and got put in jail and was banned from ever playing with any musicians for the rest of his life. I don't know. Maybe I'm too harsh, but it's there. I don't know.
But yeah, so that is this day in music. Not a whole lot happened today. You know, sometimes we have days like that. Sometimes there be days. But yeah.
Well, since the last thing with Def Leppard's Roadie did, so the next song is queued up. It's kind of fitting. Here is Black Pussy, for the sake of argument. When we get back, we'll talk more about Corey Feldman and his debut. So we'll be back. Enjoy the song. Let's talk about the music.
Argument, I'm a sky skin will reply. Talk About the Music is starting.
What is Let's Talk About the Music, and why are you so excited about it?
It's a podcast with controversial talk and a global mix of music.
Oh, cool. How and where can I listen?
Just go to letstalkaboutthemusic.com and click follow to be sure to get all the info about the bands that are playing and see their music videos. Then click on Spreaker or iTunes to listen live and even chat with other listeners and the host herself.
What day and time is Let's Talk About the Music on?
Every Wednesday night from 8 p.m. to midnight Pacific Standard Time.
I think I'll tune in. Thanks for the info. One of the things we love about Let's Talk About the Music is having such fantastic performers and bands on the show and getting to know them, reading about who they are, where they come from, and what got them to where they are today. This New York-based band is like no other. Great music, awesome bandmates that come together to make Unified Past. Join us on Let's Talk About the Music September 28th at 8 p.m. to find out more about this amazing group, Unified Past.
Independent Musicians Top 30 Countdown will be on Thursdays at 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.